live? Testing, 1, 2, 3. Hello? Are we live? Are you guys too far back, maybe? How's that? Better? Better. Is it annoying that you can't see that painting in the background? Sometimes, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like OCD about it. Other days, like, I don't care, but today, I care. Is that better? You can kind of see it? Or is that more annoying? I don't know. Whatever. Hi, you guys. Hi, Irina, Kaya, Lay. I know I know how to say your name. We've had this discussion before. Christy, Lisa, Jenna. I know I am early. Are you early? Are you doing okay? You're so early. So I'm gonna tell you, I have been way more productive so the reason why we're going on this topic is because it's something I've struggled with, and I want to talk about the things that have helped me and the things that kept me from achieving my goals. I'm telling you from my own personal experience. For a long time, I've had goals, and it's been a challenge to achieve them and to reach them, and I feel like it's taken a lot longer to achieve the goals than it should. And it's because of these things I'll be talking about today. One of the things, though, that I'm noticing with keeping these habits that we're going to be talking about is I am more productive and I get the things done quicker. So my lives are probably going to be done earlier each Sunday, unless things come up, But I think that in the past, I really did procrastinate a lot. I had a lot of habits that were actually counterproductive that I thought were helping me. And I lacked self-awareness of what my goals were and what I actually wanted in my life. I was very putting energy in the wrong places that were not helping me. So we're going to be talking today about the habits that we need to kick to be able to get our goals, and what we need to do for ourselves to just to overall have a productive lifestyle. Hello, Lisa, Sarah, William, Ali, JD, Todd's here. This time is much better. Now I don't have to wait up. Yeah, see, I think that, I've just been way more productive. I'll tell you guys what I've been doing with this past week, that it's affected like everything in my life, which I think, I don't know. I see all these courses that are like, change your life today, $80 a month, and I'll tell you how to do it. But I really think it's way more simple than we think, that we shouldn't have to be paying for courses for other people to tell us what they're doing. It's a big part of it is just being super self-aware. So let's talk about it. Hello, we got some members, been here for 14 months, 17 months. Awesome. I just wanted to say I'm so sorry for your loss. My grandma, yeah, thank you. Sorry, I thought you were talking about your grandma Carol, and I was like, that's my grandma Carol's name. Yeah, she was a good woman. I talked a lot about it on Patreon. Hi, Serena. Let me guess, you're getting up earlier. That is one of them. But so let's talk about it. So I'm not going to say, 5 habits of highly successful people or 5 habits that you need to kick right now. I'm going to just tell you in general, if you do these few things, everything else comes naturally. But what I'm describing is a person who procrastinates, a person who doesn't ever really achieve their goals in the time that they would want to, or they're confused. Me, I'm describing who I used to be, okay? Someone who, and I feel like sometimes it goes like this, and we'll talk about it. So, why you never achieve your goals. 1, I think that a lot of us will say, oh, I want to be a millionaire, or oh, we have goals, but we're not specific with our goals. Like, what exactly is it that you want? Be very specific. And I think it's good to even have a timeline. Be specific about it, think about it, write it out, write out how you're going to get there, Be very specific about the process of getting there so that you know what it is that your goal is. You know what it is that you need to be doing every day to achieve that goal. I think a big issue is, at least for me, we don't want that goal bad enough. We really don't. And I feel like that wording triggers people because, like, obviously I want to be out of this mindset. Obviously I want that more than I have this. But there's a comfortability of where you're at that makes you stay in this place and not fight for that goal. So, one, be specific with your goals. A big issue that we have is a lack of trust of ourselves. We don't trust ourselves. And one thing that I was doing that was actually making me trust myself less and less was making little goals or even a lot of goals. Like, I'm going to do all these things tomorrow and then not doing any of them. Every time you do that, your actions towards yourselves, just saying, I'm going to do this and not doing it, you are lying to yourself, and then your trust in yourself depletes. So, for example, I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow at 5 in the morning, and then you don't do it. And then every time you say, I'm going to go to the gym, there's a part of you that's like, no, you're not. So you're lying to yourself, you're creating a lack of trust in yourself, and then you're less productive in this way. So to fix that, obviously, is to be more self-aware and to be like, okay, let's start with smaller goals, something that I know that I'm going to be able to do easily. Because when you start to do that, when you start to have goals and achieve them and be able to cross them off, you're doing the opposite now. You're actually helping your trust in yourself. Because guess what? You're not lying to yourself anymore. We need to stop making excuses for lying to ourselves. We need to figure out how to, even if it's the smallest goals, stop letting ourselves down and by saying, I'm going to do this thing and then never doing it. And then guess what? You're never going to trust yourself if you keep doing that. So even if the goals have to be teeny tiny, it's that repetition of, it's kind of like high-fiving yourself. I said I was going to do this and guess what? I did it. So good job. Now you can trust your words more. Your words need to be intention. You need to actually have intention in your words, not just, I'm going to do this. And then you're not. What's the point of even saying that? You're wasting your time and you're wasting your breath. Might as well just say, I'm not going to do that. You'll trust yourself more. This goes in hand with lack of self-awareness. So people who say they're going to do something and they're never going to do it, it's a lack of trust in self. It keeps building more of a lack of trust in self. And then it's also a lack of self-awareness. Because you're saying all these things and then subconsciously you're not going to do them. So you're not really living a life with intention. You're just living a life of what's the point? So those two are hand in hand. And honestly, I feel like though that is the most important thing, is to build your self-awareness and to build your trust in yourself. If you can get those two, if you don't get anything else, get those two. Make sure that whenever you're making a promise to yourself, you are not lying to yourself. Because you don't want to have a distrustful relationship with yourself. The person you're with 24/7, you're going to be lying to that person. Why? Then you're never going to get anywhere in life because you can't even trust yourself. A big one, fear of failure. We're going down to the next one. These are all the negatives, and then we're going to go over to the things that are the positives that we need to be doing, which is obviously like the reverse. But a fear of failure, a fear of actually reaching the goal in life, which is another thing. I was like, oh, obviously I'm not afraid to be successful. Why would I be afraid to be successful? But it's more of like, you're so comfortable with where you're at right now that you're not willing to give up where you're at right now for that goal. And so, for example, for my YouTube, I actually did this with my YouTube. I was too comfortable with the job that I had. I was living in Vegas and I was making pretty decent money. I was only doing YouTube on the side. It was only until I got super uncomfortable with my job and I hated my job. I had to get to a point where I was so uncomfortable and I dreaded going to work. I was depressed. I was crying. And then I was like, I'm going to make YouTube work. And I cold turkey quit my job and did full-time YouTube. And I forced YouTube to be able to be my main source of income. But why did I have to wait till I was so uncomfortable? Why do we do that? It's like you're not willing to make the change unless it's like you have to do it. So that's a negative thing, right? I think a big part of it is the fear of failure, the fear of whatever is going to come with the new life. You're not willing and ready to let go of this one. That's why a lot of times you don't see people making big changes unless they're super uncomfortable. Same with the cult. I didn't leave the cult until it was so uncomfortable to be there. I wanted to die. And so I was like, okay, well, leaving and not knowing what's going to happen out here, the unknown is less scary than what I know is the inevitable future for me here. So if we can figure out a way to not have to get to that point, that's the thing, is if human beings could naturally just comfortably go into the unknown and grow and take it as an exciting thing rather than a scary fear of failure type of thing, we could progress so much faster rather than just sitting in this comfortable-ish situation wishing that it could be better. A big thing, though, that does make you lack your growth and kind of stay in the same mindset is your surroundings. I think this is the one time I will say other people, because it's internal. Generally, it's your lack of accountability. It's your lack of self-awareness. It's you want it to be you because you want to have control of your life. But the one thing I will say about externally is if you are in an environment that's people are constantly putting you down, constantly laughing at your goals, not believing in you. If you're constantly around that, it is going to affect you and affect your self-esteem, affect your motivation. So I'm not saying to like cut off every single person in your life that's like that, but maybe if everyone around you is that way towards your goals, maybe not talk about your goals with them because it's counterproductive. It's just making you feel worse about your goals. If you don't have anyone that supports your goals in your life, I think that it's probably a good thing to even find someone there's so many people on YouTube, find someone that you look up to that's living similarly to what you want to be living to and start watching that every day. Brainwash yourself into that's your mentor. Because a lot of people are like, oh, I would love to have a mentor, but this is an $80 course, da da da. You can have a free one. At this day and age, people selling courses, I mean, I guess maybe there's something that's a secret that I don't know, that they hold some holy grail that you need to be paying for, but I feel like there's plenty of people on YouTube that you can start now if you don't have the money to, have a mentor or whatever, to get that external support if you don't have external support in your circle right now. A big thing that's so counterproductive that I was doing so much, and I still catch myself doing it, putting energy in a counterproductive places. So let's say my goal is to be super productive and, super healthy, mentally, physically, but every day I'm scrolling on Instagram and TikTok and wasting hours of my day, which I was doing for a lot of my hours whenever I just didn't want to be productive or I wanted to procrastinate. I was just wasting my time doing what? Going the opposite direction of where I want to be going. Putting energy into places that are actually taking from your goals. So I think a big part of this is to just be self-aware. With every intention and with everything that you're doing in your life, why am I doing this? What is this doing for me? Be super self-aware of each time you're giving energy. Where is this energy going? Is it going to come back to me? Is this productive energy, or is this energy that's actually pulling me further away from my goals? One thing that I will say, and maybe this is really hard for a lot of us to do, it was for me when I was younger, judging other people, especially other people who are trying to reach their goals. When you judge them and put them down, it's an internal thing, and you are doing it to yourself too. So if you catch yourself judging other people that are trying to better their lives, stop, because that is internally, you're doing it to yourself as well. And this also goes hand in hand with the fear of your future life. So I had this, I had judgments on wealthier people. I had judgments on a specific type of people that I wanted to be like. But every time I saw those types of people, I was judging them. Subconsciously, you are afraid to become them because you're afraid that others are going to judge you in the way that you're judging them right now. So by doing that, you are fighting yourself on your own goals. Does that make sense? So stop judging. Like, also, that's, even if what I just said doesn't make sense to you, the simple fact of putting energy into judging someone who's trying to achieve goals and someone who's doing what you're wanting to be doing, the simple fact of putting that energy, the negative energy, into that, instead of putting that energy into admiring it or your own self and your own progress, you're freely giving that away. So I do want to touch on this topic again of being too comfortable where you're at and you actually don't want your new life bad enough. So I already brought up the YouTube thing, right? And I had to be so uncomfortable to finally just do full-time YouTube. But there was this person that he wanted to, we personally know this person, okay? Anyways, so he wanted so badly to start his own business, but just never could actually do it. Maybe it was fear of failure. Maybe he was judging himself too analytical, too critical, whatever. He got something on his record that made so that he could not have a job. So he was forced to start his own business. Come to find out, a lot of business owners, that's what happened. They could not get a job, so they had to start their own business. They were forced to start their own business because when you're comfortable in this lifestyle over here, there's nothing pushing you too hard in that direction. You have to want this so bad that you're okay with letting go with all of this. And like, I feel like 90% of people aren't. Okay, we're going to the positive sides now. So again, want the new life more than the old one. Don't overexert yourself, right? I've done this multiple times. I don't know if you guys have, but where one day you're like, I'm so motivated. Tomorrow I'm going to do this. There's like 40 things on your list. Like, I'm going to get all this stuff done tomorrow. And then what happens if you don't do it? Again, you're not going to trust yourself as much. So don't overexert yourself. Start slow so that you can start trusting yourself more. It's kind of like a dance, right? When you go on a date with someone that you don't even know, you're not going to trust them with everything. There's slowly things that will help you to trust them a little bit more and a little bit more, especially with someone it's kind of the same. When you're trying to trust yourself and you don't know yourself enough, and that's why you're going, I'm going to do all this stuff. Oh, I didn't do it. Start slow. Start doing little things to trust yourself, little things to help yourself out, little things to motivate yourself. And then you will find that once your sense of self-trust, your trust in yourself, and your sense of self-awareness goes up, a lot of other things are going to go up in your life. You're going to start taking care of yourself more. You're going to start wanting to wake up earlier. You're going to start wanting to go to the gym. You're going to start wanting to have a cleaner space and environment. You're going to start being aware that, oh, I'm actually less productive when I have a messy house. So you're going to want to be doing all of these things that are taking care of yourself because you do think it's productive. So trust yourself. Take the small steps towards every goal. Every day, I think you should do something every single day that's a slow step towards the goal, even if it's something small. But it's another way of, this is my goal. This is my promise to myself that I'm going to get there. So every day, having that in your mind. And eventually, it will be something you look forward to and something that you're excited to do. I think that there's sometimes when we have this goal, and we dread doing the thing every single day, then there's something internal that makes us actually not want the goal. So be mindful of that as well. If you're dreading doing that thing every day that's taking you to the goal, maybe self-evaluate why that is. Eliminate people who do not support your goals or growth. I wrote eliminate, but it's actually just be mindful of those people. Be mindful of, because the sad thing is sometimes we have people in our life who don't want to see us grow beyond them, who our growth is actually triggering them because it makes them think that they're failures. So they want to project onto you that you're never going to make it, or you're never going to succeed, or why should you have that? I should have that. So be very mindful of people like that in your life, people that only want to see you succeed as long as it's beneath them, because they don't actually care about your progress and your happiness and your growth. People who are successful and happy in life, they want to see their friends and family succeed, even if it's beyond them. Because I feel like when you're happy, genuinely happy and successful, you know that someone that you love succeeding is also your success. The people around you succeeding is also you succeeding. Like, you are all bringing each other up. Why be in a crowd of people who are tearing each other down? You'd rather be in the crowd of people who are cheering the people on that are going above and beyond. You're also more likely to be going above and beyond when you're in that crowd too. Again, fear of failure. We're going to talk about this for a second. Try to change the fear of failure into excitement to learn, because failure is an opportunity to learn. Failure is not even necessarily a bad thing. I think it's that the idea of, oh, if I fail, then everyone's going to judge me. Who cares? Who cares? So you're going to never do what you want to do. You're never going to achieve your goals because you're afraid that other people are going to look at you as a failure. With every failure, you're learning something. So instead of the fear of failure, turn it to excitement to learn. Be okay with the uncomfortable. Be okay with the unknown. And over time, it won't be a fear of failure. It won't be something that's the unknown because you're doing it. You're knowing it. You're learning it. Be more aware of where you put your energy. Every action is either productive or counterproductive. Try to think of it that way. Each action is either helping you achieve your goals or taking from your goals. And I think that the start of this journey needs to just be being aware. Being aware of, oh, why do I want to be on Instagram for 4 hours right now? What's causing me to feel drained right now? What's causing me to want to procrastinate? And just being super aware and have good communication with yourself. Because ever since I started doing this, just basically trying to have a more productive lifestyle, trying to have a healthy, wealthy, happy, lovey, whatever. I've been waking up at 5 a.m. every single day, and it's an exciting thing. Which before, if you told me that I would be doing that, I'd be like, no, I'm not gonna do that. But it's a more of an exciting experience to know how productive I can be in each day. And my natural instinct to get on Instagram and TikTok and all of these social medias, it's way less now because it's like my brain is correcting itself into, I know that's not productive for me. And it's not as much of a fight anymore. Whereas before it was like, how did I just end up on Instagram scrolling for like 4 hours? How did this happen? Because I'm getting more in tune and self-aware and in line with what my goals are, trusting myself, I now can see when I'm doing those things and why is it that I'm doing them. Routine is a big thing, repeating it, right, to become a habit, but having a healthy routine and understanding why you have this routine too. Understanding, again, being very specific with those goals, understanding what each part of the goal is, each part of your day-to-day is going towards the goal. So the routine, repeat, become a habit, and be open-minded to easier ways to obtain the goal, to maybe like we were talking, a role model or someone that already is in that area that knows what they're doing. Be open to listening and to understanding new ways of achieving that goal, because especially when it's a newer goal and maybe a lot of people in your life aren't on that path, you're going to have a perception of how you're going to get there, and it may not be the easiest way to get there. So to be open-minded to new ideas and new ways of getting to the goal that you want to get to. So I think overall, though, again, if you can only take 2 things from this, it's the trust in self. So making goals and achieving those goals and checking them off, making that be a routinely thing, and over time you never lie to yourself because you're trusting yourself so much that you know what you're capable of. You're better at your time management. You're better at achieving even just those small goals, but then eventually it becomes the bigger goals. So that's one of the biggest ones, is to have that trust in yourself and then grow into that better self-awareness as well, which is being just super mindful. Every action you do, there's a reason, and you need to tune into it and try to figure out what am I doing? You don't want to be living your life on autopilot, you guys, because then you're never going to achieve your goals. We can't do that, okay? And one thing that made me really understand this was seeing this pattern in my life where, okay, I escaped a cult, but it was really hard, and I had to get super uncomfortable to jump into the new world. And yes, that makes sense because I was also a minor and I was fighting. But it was like I got so uncomfortable, and then I finally got this new life, and then I got a new place that was comfortable, that was actually not healthy for me. So then once that became so uncomfortable, then finally I got to this another place. My goal is to not have to ever get uncomfortable again. I want to live a very comfortable life. So I need to not wait till my life gets so uncomfortable to change it. I need to start, and I think that takes a lot of trusting in yourself and being very self-aware of where your life is going, and if it's in tune with who you want to be. And exactly. Anyway, does that make sense? I would love to hear your guys' comments, questions, comments, and concerns. Oh, Aquanta's here. I gotta call you, Aquanta. I have been contemplating on starting a YouTube channel. Been doing this for about 2 to 3 years now. I just haven't figured out way I want to go for the channel. Any ideas? Okay, you're asking the perfect person, because I did the same thing. I wanted to do a YouTube channel, and I had experience editing. I knew I could do it, but there was a big part of me that there was a lot of fears, right? There's fears that people are going to judge me. There's fears that people are going to laugh at me. There's fears that it's not going to do well. But at the end of the day, I truly believe that if you take your energy, all of your energy, and put it into the one thing that you're passionate about, it will be successful. It will. You just have to be patient and you have to want it bad enough. A lot of the times people will start a YouTube channel and when they don't see the money coming in the first month, they give up. So, and in my opinion, if that's going to be you, then don't start a YouTube channel because then it's going to turn you away from it. But if you're someone that's like, because for me, it wasn't about the money in the beginning. It was about getting the information out there, and I was very passionate about it, and so I kept on doing it. I was doing it for years. I don't think I got my first big YouTube check until 2021, and it's because it was also a side hustle, so I wasn't putting all of my energy into it. I say start if you're really ready for why not? If you have passions for it and if you truly want to become something in that area, just start and take the baby steps. Put it on your goals. Maybe say, oh, this is what I did. I want to do one video a month. Just one. Doesn't have to be a long video, just one video a month so that it gets me in this habit of letting my creative side come out because I really enjoyed it. And because it was something that I truly was passionate about and I truly enjoyed, it became something that it went from a side hustle to a full-time job. So I think that whatever it is that's your goal should be something you're very passionate about that gives you something back, right? So I for sure say just do it. Have an idea. You don't have to know exactly everything, but have an idea of what you want your first video to be about, what you want your channel to be about, and it's okay for it to evolve over time. One thing I sometimes do is replace a passive activity with an active one. Like instead of watching YouTube videos, I'll read a book or play piano. I do like that. Yeah, something that makes you feel energized rather than drained too. And I'll watch YouTube videos. A lot of the times I try to watch educational, motivational YouTube videos or comedy, stuff that like I want to learn. But yeah, there are times where I'm like, why is it that I just want to sit and watch a Bob's Burgers episode that I've already seen 5 times? And sometimes it's because I'm exhausted. There's something mentally exhausted in me. Wow, good job, Sarah. You became a counselor. That's awesome. My mom used to gauge my mental health by how clean or messy I get. Too obsessive. Yeah, I do that too. If my house is very messy, it's because there's something mentally going on with me at the time. And that's how I check in with myself. Like it's weird how sometimes I'm not self-aware enough to realize it until my house is messy. I'm like, okay, something's not right in my psyche. Hi, Jane. You can learn from failure. Sometimes in the lessons you learn to get to your goal, that's most important. Exactly. And so this is something that I think is good to think about with your goals. Would you rather never try your goal ever because you're too afraid? Or would you rather try, fail here, learn from that, fail again, learn from that, fail again, learn from that, and then eventually figure it out because you're learning through your trials how to get there, and then you get there. If you keep trying, you will get there. That's what I tell myself, so I know the stupid stuff I'm thinking about doesn't matter. We are on floating rock in space with meteors flying around us. Oh, that's what you tell yourself? Yeah, I think it's easier too to think in that concept too of like, because when I used to get embarrassed a lot, and I used to really, really care what other people thought of me, sometimes that can really make you not live your life. So whatever you got to tell yourself to make yourself realize it doesn't really matter. Nothing matters. Just be happy. Do what's going to make you happy. A lot of the times the people that are judging you, and especially me from my experience, when I left the cult, leaving the cult was such a good experience for me because when I was in it, I was like, oh, these people love me so much. These people are my best friends. These people care about me. As soon as I left, I was dead to half of them, more than half of them. They don't give a flying fuck about me. And I was living my whole life for them, like trying so hard to get into their heaven, trying so hard to please them. Yet when I chose my life for me, one thing for me, bye, dead to me, we don't care. And it was like the veil had been lifted, right? It was like I was finally free, because the reality is the people that are judging you so hard, the people that want you to live their life so bad, they don't care about you. They don't care if you're happy. They don't care if you're successful. They don't care if you're getting any form of like self-love, or if your psyche's healthy. They don't care. So why do we care what they think of us? And this is something that we hear this all the time. Like, if they don't care what other people think, da, da, da. It's really hard to implement when it's your family, when it's people that you genuinely think, oh, they have my best interest at heart. But do they? If they get upset when you want to do something different for your life, for your happiness, then they're upset at you. Do they really care about your happiness? Then don't put their opinions above your own, ever. You should never put anyone else's opinion of you over your own opinion of you. You should be able to trust yourself enough to know, I know myself better than that. And that's not true. My problem is that I don't ever really want anything besides to be left alone with my cat and my books. Anything else is degrees of inconvenience. But do you have goals that you would like to achieve? Or are you happy where you're at? If you're happy where you're at, then you're fine. Thank you, Noki. I have to stop watching late night lives on TikTok. It melts my brain cells. I know. Especially when it's just random content coming in and you don't know what's next, and it's just feeding your brain all this nonsense. Amanda, why aren't you a therapist? I had someone tell me this yesterday. Was it yesterday? They were like, you should be a therapist. And it's one of my favorite compliments. I am looking into going back into psychology. I don't know that I would go to be a therapist, but to just further my psychology, bringing more psychological facts to you guys here, and then really just letting myself decide where I want to go in it. I would love to learn criminal psychology as well. But did you collect this from a book or the stuff on how to change your life? I'm just telling you from experience. And I have been so I think Dr. Ramani helped me a lot as far as like coming out of the victim mentality, and because I had been raised by a lot of narcissistic people, and finally realizing, okay, it wasn't me, and I don't need to be the victim of narcissists anymore. So Dr. Ramani helped me through that phase. I read her book. I loved her book. I love seeing a lot of her YouTube videos. She's a free psychologist too. You can watch on YouTube. And then I also love watching The Wizard Liz. I don't know if any of you guys know who she is, but she's very like, she came from a poor background, and she talks a lot about how she got the life that she wanted. And I'm just giving you guys a reference if you want someone who's very motivational. She's a really good one, but she's definitely not one that's going to be like, yeah, sit in your victim mentality and say, poor me, poor me, poor me, because it is counterproductive. But I'm to the point where, because of everything I went through in my life, I do believe in a portion of mourning. And there are some people that disagree with that. They disagree with the healing phase. They think that the healing phase is a victim mindset. But I disagree, because I think that you need to acknowledge things that have happened to you, things that were wrong, that shouldn't have happened to you, in order for them to not happen again, right? And maybe I'm interpreting what other people are saying incorrectly, but I think there's a chain of events that need to happen in order for you to not repeat the cycle. And a big part of it is acknowledging what happened, acknowledging that it shouldn't have happened, acknowledging that they shouldn't have done that to me, but also acknowledging your part to play in it. Why did it last 7 years? Why didn't I leave earlier? And it's not a self-blamey type of thing. It's a taking back the control. The control is in your hands now. Instead of everything happens to me, it's everything happens for me. I learned in this situation, and this situation will not happen again, because I am not going to be in those type of situations again, because I learned from that. It's like that fail. You do fail, like relationships that end. if you're always looking at it as, oh, they're crazy, they're crazy, they're crazy, like I don't know what it is, but every single relationship I'm in, I end up in a victim situation. If you never acknowledge why you're getting into these relationships with people that are not healthy for you, then you'll never understand it and you'll never be able to have control over it. Does that make sense? I'm just using the relationship thing as an example, but it's the same thing for why do I get into this job and I hate this job and I hate that and I hate this and I hate that. Everything I do, I just don't like it and it's everybody else around me's fault. We need to acknowledge. We need to acknowledge it. Did I just get a... What just happened? Did I just get a donation? Thank you. Where did it go? I'd pay you to be my virtual therapist. He he he. Appreciate the content. Oh, thank you. Yeah, we used to do little like meetings on Patreon where we would do like Zoom calls where we would do goals and talk about like I really liked that, but I also felt like it was a lot of energy to be doing as often as we were doing it, but it helped me to stay track onto my goals. But yeah, Casey, to answer your question, did I collect this from a book or I feel like I've collected all of this information from different sources from going to therapy from 18 to now, different advices that my therapists have given me and things that I've learned from how come my relationships aren't working out or how come my goals aren't happening. And it's really just if you self-reflect and you ask yourself and you truly want to know the answer, you will get the answer. You know, if you ask yourself a question, you know the answer to that question. If it's an internal thing that's about you, you know. So I really feel like in my whole life, everything always comes back to self. Being self-aware and understanding who you are and loving that person and just trying to strive to grow even more and more self-aware, trusting yourself more, listening to yourself more, validating yourself more. Gaining that really, really good relationship with yourself is going to help you grow so far beyond anything that you could ever think. And this is coming from someone who, I mean, at one point in my life, I thought I was just going to be in a cult forever and live polygamy, and that was going to be it. And I was going to have my kids repeat that cycle. And I got to a certain point of self-awareness where I realized I will not be okay with my kids living like this. I'm not going to be able to tell my kids that this is what God wants because I don't even think I believe in it. So I got to that form of self-awareness and then leaving, but I still didn't realize after coming out of the cult that I had so many negative habits that I thought were just my personality traits. I thought they were helping me through life when they were actually hurting me. I had a lot of black and white thinking, you know, you got to do things this way because this is the way that I've been doing it my whole life. But in reality, it was like trying to push a square. You know, have you seen those analogies where it's like trying to push the square because that's the way you've been doing it your whole life when you could just be open-minded to working smarter, not harder? Anyway, I still feel like I'm trying my best to learn as much as possible to be able to make my life easier because I'm not at the super comfortable place I want to be in my life, and there's been a lot of moments recently where I'm like, how come that is? Why is it that you want so bad to be comfortable, but for the past however many years you've been just like white knuckling it through life? And it's because of that reason. I'm not willing to let go of this life to make room for the new life, right? There's things that I'm thinking in my mind that it's easier to just be in this place, even though I'm not comfortable here. Dr. Ramani helped me a lot with processing my almost 20 years on and off with my malignant narcissist ex. Yep. You do need to process, I feel like, to be able to understand the issues and understand where he was wrong, right? And that's the hard part. I think some people they don't want to process it. They're just like, oh, he was a bad guy. And then they move on to a new guy, like, oh, this guy's so much better, but it's just another narcissist. And so I think there's a time, I'm never going to say, oh, you should be single for a year and get to know yourself, because sometimes that's not the case. Like sometimes people are single for a year and they don't learn anything about themselves. I think it's more of being willing to dissect the uncomfortable parts of that relationship, being willing to, and that's what's hard is when you're with a malignant narcissist, when you're dissecting it, a lot of the times you feel stupid. And this is what I went through. I felt so stupid when I dissected the relationship. I felt like, why did I believe that lie? Why did I trust him? Why did I let him do that to me? Why did I this, what, that? And that's the hard part because it's not productive to do that, to shame yourself, to make yourself feel stupid, to talk negatively of yourself about a situation that happened in the past is just making you have to go through it harder, you know? This is what my therapist was like. He's like, when you stop at a stoplight, do you sit there, Amanda, and be like, oh, why is the stoplight red? Da, 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 da. Does it help the stoplight turn green? And I was like, no. He's like, well, that's what you're doing every time you call yourself stupid. Every time you look at the past relationship, like, why didn't I know? I'm such an idiot. It's not helping the situation. It's not helping you heal faster. If it's actually making you trust yourself less because you're talking down to yourself. So then you're actually going to get into another narcissistic relationship again, because here's the link to those two. When you're talking bad about yourself and you're like, I should have saw these red flags, I should have saw these signs, I'm so stupid. Because you're talking about yourself like that, you now don't trust yourself because you're saying, oh, I was stupid. I'm stupid. I didn't know any better. How could I have done these things? Then you get into the new relationship with a narcissist that you don't know. The red flags are there. You see them, but you don't trust yourself because you're stupid. You don't know any better. Maybe it's not a red flag. Maybe it's actually this. You gaslight yourself because you don't trust yourself, because you talk down to yourself. So stop it. It's counterproductive to talk negative about yourself, about situations that you failed, but you should be like, oh, I learned from that. It's a good thing I went through this experience because I learned this, and this, and I'm so proud of myself for getting out of that experience. That's way more productive to be talking to yourself like that. And then in the next relationship, when you see the red flags, you'll be like, nope, I remember these things happening in that relationship, and that's why, okay, we're with a narcissist now. We're with a narcissist. So to trust yourself means to talk as positive as possible to yourself. Have that healthy relationship with yourself. Why do you want to be your worst enemy? You don't want to. If you're going to sit there and talk down to yourself, might as well not have any goals. Might as well not have any ideas for progressing because you're your own worst enemy. Instead, though, talk good to yourself. Find your successes in each thing, even though you may have, how did I end up with a narcissist? You didn't know he was a narcissist, and now you do, and you got out. So pat yourself on the back for everything that you did right. And that way you will trust yourself more, and you will have less of a chance of getting in a relationship with a narcissist again, because now you trust yourself more. Where are we? Sorry, I'm so late. Everyone just woke up. Oh no. Owie. Owie. I hope you're feeling better. My aunt got a knee surgery, and it's a process. Take care of yourself. Where are we at with our comments? We have like people talking back and forth. In your 20s, 30s, you care what people think of you. 40s, 50s, you think other people care about you. In your 60s, you figure out people only think of themselves. Seek your bliss now, F the rest. It's so true. You don't want to wait till your life's almost over to finally live your life, right? Obviously, we want to have empathy of other people, but we need to be understanding and realizing that the only person that really benefits from us is us, right? We want to be the one benefiting from our own life, and we don't want to be living solely for external validation, because that's not a life that's truly fulfilling. So to have that better relationship with yourself, to have your validation within yourself be higher than anyone else's, is the place that we ultimately want to be. I do want to mention this though, because some people think, I had this conversation the other day, and it's still a topic that's it's so prevalent. People say, oh, well, What is the difference between, knowing yourself, putting boundaries up, being confident, and just being arrogant? So there's a confusion where some people think that because you're confident and you love yourself and you trust yourself that you're like this selfish narcissist, which is totally false. Because if you think about it in this way, and I know I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again because it's so important to know the difference between someone who's confident and loves themselves and respects themselves versus someone who is a malignant narcissist, okay? So someone who loves themselves and respects themselves also respects others. Someone who respects themselves has a higher level of self-love, and they're generally going to be, the people in their circle are going to be loved at that same level. The narcissist has self-hate, so the people in their circle are going to be in that same level. So a person who loves themselves treats others as the same as they treat themselves, right? A person who hates themselves treats others in the negative way. A person who loves themselves talks kindly about others. It's the same thing, like what they're successful, so they want to see other people succeed. This person is self-loathing, hates themselves, doesn't want to see other people succeed because it makes them feel bad about themselves. Two completely different people, but sometimes the narcissist comes off as a confident person because they have this persona of actually arrogance, which some people confuse the arrogance for confidence. Arrogance is stemming from a insecure place where they have to tell people how great they are. They have to show people, like, look at all these things that I do. Da, da, da. Confidence just is. They don't have to tell you who they are. They don't have to explain to you because they're not seeking validation. They are confident with themselves. So people who talk about all their successes, 90% of the time, if they're constantly bragging and talking, they actually don't have those things, or they just are super insecure and they have to, they feed off of the validation. They don't actually have that successful of a life. That's why they have to convince you that they have it, because they need to convince themselves. So confidence is not having to compare yourself to other people. Arrogance is comparing yourself to everyone in the room, right? Confidence is you're only competing with yourself, and that's the happiest place to be. There's not an insecurity that's making you have to get the attention of others. It's okay to have narcissistic traits like self-esteem, confidence, and self-trust. Narcissistic personality disorder, but okay. Every narcissist I know, though, especially like malignant narcissists, they don't really like themselves. They are constantly talking negatively about other people. They constantly have to feel like the best person in the room. So is that true? Is that truly self-esteem? Or is that low self-esteem and then projecting on other people so they feel better about themselves? Love thyself, people. Exactly. If you're someone who is even vaguely considered and questioning if they are not a narcissist, typically are not. Narcissist does not consider that they could possibly have any negative qualities. This is the crazy thing, though, about narcissists is they're like, oh no, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best, but then they hate themselves. It's like they have this internal battle with themselves, and that's why they have to project on everyone in their life, which is also why usually the person that gets the worst is someone who's married to a narcissist, someone who has to be in a relationship with a narcissist. They become the punching bag, right? Because and that's such a good point, right? It's like they never want to believe that they're the narcissist, but at the end of the day, no one around them likes to, truly enjoys being around them. So think about it. They probably don't like being around themselves either. And that's also a big reason why narcissists generally are around people, because they don't like being alone with themselves, because they have to be with themselves. And gross. Did you send me a super chat? Sorry, did I skip these? Michelle, thank you, Michelle. This is my second super chat. You are helping us out so much. Thank you, Michelle. And I love being here with you guys every week. Like, I think that the consistency of doing this every Sunday we're over like 130 Sundays now, has really helped me to keep myself accountable and to keep myself in check. And hearing your guys' perspectives and hearing what's helped you guys as well has helped me to be able to grow so much. So you guys are just as big a part of the community and a part of helping me progress. So thank you for being here. I need to talk to someone. I know I could talk to someone like you, Amanda, because you would not judge. You understand. This is such a good point. Sometimes we have a really hard time progressing and getting to know ourselves because we don't have a safe environment to talk about these things that we're super vulnerable with. And so it's scary because you can have parts of yourself that you're trying to understand, that you feel shame and you feel guilt towards, but you don't have a healthy outlet to talk about it. Because if you do, sometimes when you talk about that vulnerable thing with the wrong person, they make you feel even worse about it, and then it's counterproductive of trying to process it. So that's such a good point to bring up, is to make sure that the things that you're trying to process, you're going to a healthy space and processing them in a healthy way. So I guess my suggestion for that is, if you feel like you can't trust anyone, I would try a therapist, or if you can't afford that, try journaling. Try journaling out the things that are super vulnerable, that you don't want any negative backlash on, but also you don't want to be that negative person either. So you want to be able to create that space for yourself where you can be vulnerable with yourself and understand, why do I have shame or guilt tied to this part of my story? A lot of the times, we've talked about this before, a lot of the times when we have shame or guilt tied to something we've done, it's usually because whatever we did it's not super in line with our values and our morals, or we don't fully understand why we did that. So it's really just, trying to push it away is counterproductive on getting to know yourself. So it's better to try to dissect that part of yourself that you're super vulnerable about, and then eventually you will be able to talk about it, and it won't matter if it's a safe or a not safe place because you've already processed it on your own. So it's kind of like when I talked about this on Patreon. I had this super embarrassing story that happened at a Hollister dressing room, and I was so mortified by the situation, and I was like, I'm taking this to the grave. I'm never telling anyone that I ever did this. It was so embarrassing. And then the more I talked to myself about it, the more funny it was, and the more I laughed at it. And then I was like, I'm just gonna tell everyone about it because it's affecting me too much. So I'm just gonna tell the whole world, and then I won't be embarrassed about it. So it came to a point where I told so many people that people would be like, oh my gosh, did you hear that Amanda did this in Hollister? And they'd be like, yeah, I heard it from Amanda. And it came to a point where it's like they would be embarrassed, so they like talked about it as it's such an embarrassing thing, but it doesn't embarrass me because I already processed it and I don't care, and I can laugh about it now. But when we have so many like skeletons in the closet, right, things that we don't know how we feel about it, it becomes you just start to become more and more insecure. So it's better to just pull the things out of the closet and be like, hey, why do I feel shame with this? And dissect it and try to understand it in a genuine, loving way. And then the more you can do that, then the less skeletons you have in the closet, and then the more you can just live an authentic life. And if someone's like, oh, hey, Amanda, I heard that you did this, then it's just like, yeah, I did. So what? I don't have to explain myself either. Like, that's another thing too, is some things that I was super insecure about, when people would call me out for them when I hadn't all the way processed it yet, I would feel the need to explain, like, well, I only did it because this, and that. You don't need to explain yourself to anybody. At the end of the day, if you understand why you did it, that's all that matters. I think you know your worth, but sometimes it takes something big to see it. Like, if a random person spat on you, you'd be like, what the F? But if someone you love did it, you feel like you deserve it. Exactly. That's such a good way of putting it, is if a stranger did it, we'd be like, absolutely not. But if a family member does it, oh, okay, well, maybe it's coming from a good place. Maybe I deserved it. Maybe this, maybe that. But that's not fair. Another thing to think about is, like, this is something that me and my sister Rachel talked about a lot when we were leaving the order. Why is it that we allow family to treat us worse than some strangers? you know? Like our family is treating us worse than a stranger who this stranger has more respect for me than my own family. This stranger would never raise a hand against me, but my family would. Like I'm choosing to stay in this unhealthy environment because they're my family. As interesting, narcissistics are typically so insecure and fishing for validation, putting others down to feel better. Exactly. And so this is something that I love the topic of narcissists because I struggled for so long trying to figure out if someone's a narcissist or not, but now I feel like I can sit down with a person for 5 minutes, boom, I know if you're a narcissist or not. And there's certain traits that narcissists are just so unaware of. It's just like their lack of self-awareness, their lack of empathy for other people. It shines through when you finally have healed yourself and you realize and recognize what a healthy communication, what a healthy relationship is. It's easy now to spot who's a narcissist or who has narcissistic tendencies. It's really just they're super unself-aware, super unempathetic of others. So I love this topic because, and I love this, like, this is confidence, this is insecurity, right? If you can learn those things, then you can make sure that the people in your inner circle are people that are not narcissists, are people that are actually going to build you up and be happy for your success, rather than surrounding yourself with people that are like, how come I feel drained every time I'm around these people? How come it feels like the world's against me? But yeah, I love this topic because for a long time it was such a frustrating thing. And for the longest time, whenever I met a narcissist, it was like my triggers would go off and I would be like, this person reminds me of an order person that used to manipulate me, or this person reminds me of a predator that I used to know. But because I didn't trust myself, I would stay friends with them because I'm like, well, I don't want to be judgmental. I don't know if it's just that maybe they just remind me of them because they maybe like look like them. I don't know. That's what happens when you don't trust yourself. When you trust yourself, you can start to understand, like, nope, they're causing my red flags to go off, so we're going to go in the opposite direction because we love and validate ourselves. And we don't have to put ourselves in a situation where we don't feel comfortable. Do you know how many times I put myself in a situation where I felt uncomfortable because I wanted to make sure that they were comfortable? But what about me? What about me feeling comfortable? Oh, my comfortability doesn't matter because this person, for whatever reason, this stranger deserves to feel more comfortable than me. I'm just going to walk away. Just walk away from the situation. Narcs hate being laughed at, have no sense of humor, mock them, and they get furious. No contact, only way to cancel a narc. Yeah. Gray wall, is that what it's called? Dr. Ramani always says just gray wall. Stonewall? Stonewall? Stone gray wall? Something like that. Basically, if you're in the presence of a narcissist, narcissists need validation in any way possible. So if you just don't give them that, then they will stop seeking you because you're not giving them what they want. So if they tell you something or if they ask you something, you just say yes, no. Don't give them any of your energy because they're feeding off of that. It's like a parasite. I swear all of our church elders got off on public humiliation. They would seriously bring up toddlers and have a church crowd shame them. Yeah. It's always an insecure person that feels some sense of power over abusing a child, humiliating a child. It's really just the adult is showing their true colors, that they are an insecure person. Because why would you get something out of humiliating a child or hurting a child? Why would a grown adult get something out of that? It's because they're insecure. They're projecting. It's like a superpower. What is like a superpower? Gray rocking? Gray rock. It's making me think of my friend is a narcissist. Sometimes your friends are. And sometimes they may not be like a malignant narcissist, right? Because there's like levels of narcissism. Malignant is the worst. They're like the next thing to a psychopath. A malignant narcissist is the step under a psychopath. So just know that yes, there's lines of narcissists, right? There's like if you go on to Google, you can Google the traits of a narcissist. If your friend has all those traits, they're more likely a malignant narcissist, which you don't want to be. Honestly, the goal is to not be close with narcissists. But if you do have narcissistic family members, it's just to be very aware. But a malignant narcissist is someone you just don't want in your life. Because do you want a psychopath? Someone who's just one step under a psychopath in your life? Do you want that? And the reasoning for them being almost a psychopath is the lack of empathy. They don't care about your feelings. They don't have the capacity to care. They may act like they care, but the only reason they're going to act like they care about your feelings is so that they can think that they're going to get something from you. That's it. I've seen narcissists cry, snot dripping out of their mouth, crying, acting like they care about me or they're sorry for me. But it's not that they're sorry for me. It's not that they have any idea of what they put me through. It's the fact that I am now taking my energy away from them and they can't handle it. They can't handle it. So yeah, your friend may be a narcissist. I think it's a smart move to maybe look at the narcissistic traits online and see if they coincide with your friend. I advise not to call your friend a narcissist, because if they are a narcissist, that's not going to go well. But just be aware of those traits that they have and try to, like, for example, someone close to me would say things like just very negative about things in my life. A lot of the comments were not positive. And so because I started to categorize them as a narcissist or in the category of a narcissist, and being more aware of, oh, these comments are just projections, I'm able to be around them more. I don't really get a lot out of being around them, but because I'm aware of what's happening, I don't let it affect me as much. So it could be a good thing to analyze the people in your life and say, oh, this person does that. Oh, that makes sense that they would do that. Because if you don't know what's going on and you really love that person and you genuinely want them in your life, but they're constantly putting you down, that's going to affect you a lot. So it's good to be aware of what's going on. Like, I keep telling her I'm stressed about my daughter's birthday. That's next week. And she keeps bringing up her birthday. That's 2 months away. Yeah, see, this could also just be a lack of awareness. But that's what narcissists are. They're just so unaware and so oblivious to other people's things. This is another point, too, I want to say, is people that are super in survival mode. They are so in survival mode, whether they're being abused by a narcissist, physically abused by someone, mentally abused. Someone who's in survival mode, it lacks the capacity to even care about someone else's well-being, because their well-being is so in such a state of like stress. So that could be it too. She could be under a lot of stress in her life that's like, because I remember being that in the cult, like I had no capacity of being like, how are you? Are you good? I don't care. I'm literally on the brink of wanting to die. Like literally thinking about jumping off a bridge right now. I don't have the capacity to be like, are you good? Are you good? So I think there's a mixture of, obviously lack of self-awareness. There's also could be they're very in a survival mode at the moment, or a narcissist, or a mixture of all. Because sometimes, too, people who are enablers who are with a narcissistic partner, they're not necessarily a narcissist, but because they enable that type of behavior, they come off more narcissistic because they're around it. They start to become a little bit more like it. They start to make excuses for it. You know you need to get away from someone when you feel the need to lie about them to a friend. Yep. Not always when you need to explain the person, like with different cultures or PTSD or something. Yeah, when you find yourself constantly having to explain the bad behavior. I was with a guy like this. So it was always embarrassing to be going out with him because people were like, is he angry? What's wrong with him? Like, oh no, he had a bad day, or you're constantly trying to fight their battles for them. But in reality, they're just not a good person. And you shouldn't have to do that for them. And as a partner, a lot of the times as a partner, you want to make them look good. You want to make them I think too, for me at least, there was I look bad too. I start to feel like, oh, why am I even with this person? So I have to make excuses for them. I think it's a mixture of you don't want to make them look bad, but then you also look bad too, that you're with this person who's kind of being an ass. So you have to like make all these excuses. That's why I think accountability is a big part of not repeating the cycle. It's realizing, because one reason I think a lot of people stay with narcissists, I think there's a lot, okay, a lot, but I think that one reason for me specifically was, oh, it was a pride thing. I just wasted X amount of years with a narcissist. It's pride. You need to humble yourself and be like, look, it's okay. You learned, you saw it, you figured it out. At least you didn't stay the rest of your life with them. Like, you did good. But yeah, I think that it's just good to be acknowledging those good points. I forgot what your question was. Sorry. I feel like I'm trailing on a lot today. I have a lot to say today. But when you're running from a lion, you don't stop to ask how someone is doing. Yeah. See? And so that's why I don't like to say, oh, because they have this one trait of a narcissist, then they're a narcissist. That's not the way I want everyone to be going about this. I'd rather it be, you're just self-aware, right? And you're aware of, oh, this person's judging other people and they're having a lot of negative opinions of others. I'm going to just be aware of that person is insecure about these. A lot of the times, whatever they're pointing at and laughing at is something they're very insecure with. I have so many examples of where I hung out with people and they said specifically about another girl something that I know them enough to know that they are very insecure about that thing, and they said it specifically to another girl. It's funny though how when you become more self-aware, you can really start to see who everyone really is, and you can start to kind of get to know them better than they even fully understand. Because they're not doing the inner work. But because you've done the inner work, you know, oh yeah, when I do that, it's because I'm insecure about that. But I have had times where I tell my friend, like, you're doing that because you're insecure. And they're like, nah, and then they try to justify it. It's like, okay, if you think it's helping you to talk negatively about that person, then go off. But I feel like 99% of the time, it's just an insecurity that we ourselves need to work through. A trigger too, when someone triggers you so much just by existing, it's something internal that you need to be working through. But yeah, that's why it's like, don't judge a person off of, oh, they have one narcissistic trait. And it's not even about like, oh, that person's terrible because they're this, and this. It's more about just being aware of, okay, these are traits that I don't necessarily want to be in my inner circle. They can go ahead and live that life and have that battle if they want to. But in my inner circle, I would like people who are promoting other people's happiness, who are also genuinely happy themselves, who want to see other people be successful. I don't really feel it's productive to have people in my life who are constantly bringing me down. But yeah, that's the scary part too. It's like a lot of people in my life are in survival mode, and it's really hard to have a friendship with someone who is in survival mode because it's never going to be a two-way street. It's always going to be, it's generally when the people in my life who are in survival mode, I have to make sure that I am ready to go talk to that person or spend time with that person because that person takes. That person only knows how to take right now because they're in survival mode. So you either have to be really good with your boundaries or very aware of what they're wanting to take and okay with them taking it. And then they may not even be grateful for it. I found myself doing a lot of having to learn this lesson the hard way with people who want to leave the order, or at least they say they want to leave the order, and they really just want to see how much you're going to give them. And they're in survival mode. So they're like, give me a lifeline, give me a lifeline. Oh, I'm too scared of this outside world. I'm going to go back to what I was doing over there. And you just gave, and they took, and they're like, oh, there's nothing else left? Okay, I'm going back. There's a lot of people like that, and they're people that don't actually know what they want. They're people that don't, they're more like fence sitters. They're like, which place will give me more opportunities, you know? Someone who genuinely wants out, they're going to get out no matter what. They're going to get out no matter if you give them a lifeline or not. So I've learned to make sure that I only give what I'm willing to lose. Because there have been times where I've given way more because I'm like, I'm with you, I trust you, I want you to have a happy life. And they take it, and then they never talk to me again. And they're family. And that was my excuse. They're family. I would want someone to help me. And the problem is too with a lot of us that give more, we see them as ourselves. So we say, well, if someone gave me this, I would appreciate it, and I would be so grateful, you know. And so we assume that they're going to be the same way. We need to not assume. Don't make assumptions because they're not you, and they may see you in a completely different lighting. A lot of order members see me as a very, very bad person, so I think that they're okay with, oh, Amanda can handle it, and they can take advantage of me because I'm this like devil worshiper. So they don't trust me, but they also don't trust themselves. They also, a lot of them have a negative belief of themselves, so then they also have a negative belief on you. So they justify taking advantage in their own weird way, which I've learned this too by letting people in your life who have a very low sense of self-worth, someone who doesn't really like themselves and doesn't respect themselves. Don't expect them to respect you. Don't expect them to respect your place. Don't expect them to give more than they even give themselves. And so it's kind of a point of, I found that after being, and this is the thing, I was like, people are just using me. It's really just, you have to realize where people are at and meet them where they're at. A lot of the times it's not where you're at. And you can't expect them to respect you in the way that you respect yourself. But you can have boundaries and be aware. Narcissists take advantage of empaths. Yeah, and this is something too, is because I found people saying like, oh, again, beating themselves up for a narcissist taking advantage of them, and like, oh, narcissists were preying on me because of maybe I'm weak. It's not that you're weak, it's that you have so much to give and they want to take it. Hi, y'all from Tennessee. If you give away all your light, you start to dim. Yeah. And this is something too that I had to learn the hard way too, is people who expect all of your light and then get mad when you're not giving it, they don't have your best interests at heart. People, because you think of you right now, and you think of the friends that you have in your life right now. Do you want them to be drained constantly when they're around you? Do you want your friends to, how do I word this actually? I want my friends to feel uplifted when they're around me, and vice versa, right? I think that any friendship where you're feeling drained or you're feeling like someone's taking advantage, there's either a communication error or there's someone not understanding themselves in the process. But I just look at it as, I never want to be dimming my friends because I genuinely care about them. And if there's ever a time where they feel dim, I would want them to communicate that with me because I want to have a genuinely good relationship with them. But people that don't care if you're dim or not, they may not care about you. So maybe just reevaluate why you have them in your life. I find that narcs hate each other too. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, sometimes, well, I've seen both, because there are times where two narcissists can be two peas in a pod because they will justify the lifestyle of using others and whatever else. But then there are times where narcissists will trigger each other because of the fact that 99% of narcissists always have to be right. They can never be wrong. So as long as the two narcissists agree on everything together, then they can get along. But if there's a time where this narcissist thinks this and this one thinks that, they're going to butt heads like no other. But it makes sense, right, that a narcissist would hate another narcissist because narcissists hate themselves. And they're always projecting negatively. Someone who's always projecting negatively always has to put negativity out there. There's a lot of negativity in here, right? Had to learn the hard way who were my friends and who were actually just people who used me to get things. Yeah, that was also my fault for being overachieving people pleaser. See, this is the thing. Good job, Taylor, for also seeing and recognizing, oh, well, I also allowed it, right? I also allowed certain things to happen, and I'm not going to allow that again. My issue with some people is I've had this argument with, it was a guy, he was like, well, I don't want to be with girls that are going to try to take advantage of me. And what I thought about was, oh, wait. So what you're saying is you're afraid that all these girls are going to take advantage of you. But if you just give what you're willing to give, then you're not going to be taken advantage of, right? Because you're giving what you're willing to give, and you know where that threshold is. Anyone who's so afraid of other people taking advantage of them, they're going to steal from them, they're going to, you are giving. And if you regret giving, you did that though. So to blame someone else like, oh, they took advantage of me, it's really just a lack of self-awareness. If you were giving and they were taking, and you were giving and they were taking and you were giving, and then you felt used, you can not give, and then you'll never be taken advantage of. You know what I mean? There's obviously a difference where you're in a relationship, someone's abusing you physically, or someone's playing mental games with you, and you're not aware of what's going on, and you're naive and you're young and they're a lot older, and they're there's obviously nothing's black and white. But for the most part, if you are self-aware enough and you trust yourself and you know yourself, you have the power to give what you are comfortable with losing. And if you have that practice, you're never going to feel taken advantage of, because you are already aware enough and conscious enough to say, I'm giving this with no expectations of anything back. Possibly they will never see me again. Possibly I'm okay with losing this. If something comes back to me, great, but I'm okay with giving this. It's not a loss to me. But some people, including myself in the past, give with the assumption that they're going to get something back. And unless that's communicated, then you can't assume that because I did this for you, now you have to give me something in return, you know? My narcissistic ex was in love with himself. He could do no wrong, and if you accomplished something, it wasn't you that did it, it was him. I've been with people like that. Well, you only did that because I helped you. With da-da-da-da. Can't I just have one win, bro? Or the people that are like, whenever I was getting praised, then they would be like, well, what about this that I did over here? And it's like, we're not talking about you right now. Yeah. Don't be around that. People who are not willing to give you compliments to, especially when they're supposed to be your partner, but you never hear them complimenting you, and you more often hear them talking down to you, do they actually like you? Ask yourself that. This person never compliments me. Everything out of their mouth about my appearance is negative. Everything they have to say about what I'm doing with my life is critical. And there's like, oh, well, I'm telling you this to help you. If there's never something nice that they can say about acknowledging something good about you, run. They don't like you. A lot of the times too, they see you as a threat. Think of this too, someone who you're constantly talking negative about, they're a threat to you. Someone who also, especially if is someone blow drying here? Especially if is someone blow drying? Hopefully that's not too bad. Oh, we're at 77 minutes. Okay, I gotta go. This has been fun though. I had one that was praising me all the time, but he would doing it so I thought he was nice. He became a stalker. Oh, scary. Yeah, that's a good point. There are narcissists who can still say compliments to you. I mean, obviously, like, there's also love bombing, right? There's the phase of love bombing to get you to trust them. Yeah, I've been with guys where the compliments came in the beginning and the love bombing came in the beginning, and then after like a few months, no compliments to be seen. But I think it just goes along the lines of the same thing. Someone who's successful isn't going to feel triggered by your success. Like, someone who's successful and happy with themselves and confident in themselves doesn't feel like giving a compliment to you is taking from them, and doesn't feel the need to criticize you or put you down. There's no need, because there's no validation or satisfaction out of that for them. So I think a good rule of thumb is to try to surround yourself with people who are not afraid to give positive affirmations to you. But Thank you guys so much for joining, and thank you for adding to Tommy's here. Hi, finally made it live. Well, now we're leaving, Tommy. But we'll be here next week, and for those of you on Patreon, we're gonna be going live tomorrow. I think I'm gonna do some fun little activities with you guys tomorrow. I'm excited. But I would love to know if, and maybe next week we can talk a little bit more about this, if you guys did any changes to try to help you, like what you did to try to help yourself achieve your goals faster, what maybe habits you've implemented to try to help yourself to get to the life that you want to have. And I mean, again, the one thing if you got from this entire video, to be able to make those little goals to yourself, to be able to trust yourself more, to achieve the little ones every day. You're going to be gaining your trust every single day by doing that and being more self-aware. Talk nicer to yourself. Talking negative to yourself is counterproductive to being able to live a healthy, happy life, which we all want to be living. So, thank you guys. Love you guys. Bye, Noki. Bye, Jenna. Bye, Ali. Bye, Lisa. Thank you for the wicked smart community. Thank you guys for being the amazing community. And I'll see a lot of you guys tomorrow, or I'll see you next Sunday. Bye.